The Galactic Council chamber echoed with chittering laughter as Ambassador HFY displayed Earth's statistics on the holographic projector. 300 species from across the galaxy watched humanity's profile with undisguised amusement. Look at their atmospheric composition, HFY clicked, his mandibles quivering with mirth. 21% oxygen. They breathe a corrosive element that would dissolve most civilized species. The Krellian delegate, a floating jellyfish-like entity, pulsed with bioluminescent agreement. Their gravity is absurd. 0.98 standard units. How do they even move without collapsing? Commander Velkara of the Draxian Empire leaned forward in her crystalline seat. The truly hilarious part is their lifespan. Barely 80 cycles. They die before they can accumulate any useful knowledge. The statistics continued scrolling, a single, isolated planet. No interstellar colonies. Technology barely advanced enough for basic space travel. No natural armor. No venom. No psychic abilities. Just soft, vulnerable flesh wrapped around fragile bones. They wage war on themselves constantly, another delegate noted. Over resources, ideologies, even the pigmentation of their skin. Primitives. High Counselor Threnzak raised a gnarled appendage for silence. Nevertheless, the laws are clear. We must send a standard first contact team. Protocol demands it, even for these, humans. He spoke the word like a joke. A waste of resources, HFY muttered. Indeed, Threnzak agreed. But send a small delegation. 3 observers should suffice. We'll document their quaint civilization before they inevitably destroy themselves. The decision was made with casual indifference. Earth would receive the minimum attention required by galactic law. No one expected anything interesting. 3 weeks later, the observation ship Eternal Judgment entered Earth's orbit. The crew consisted of junior observer Kixtau, a young Vexian eager to prove himself, navigator Yulmore, a methodical Zenthari, and senior observer Ralesh, a veteran who had catalogued 200 primitive worlds. Scan their military capabilities, Ralesh ordered, settling into his station with barely concealed boredom. Let's finish this quickly. Kixtau's eyes widened as data flooded his screens. Sir, their weapons. Nuclear fission bombs, I presume. Ralesh said dismissively. Typical for their developmental stage. Yes, but, they've detonated over 2,000 of them. On their own planet. For testing. Yulmore's tentacles stiffened. They irradiated their own world. Deliberately. There's more, Kixtau continued, his voice uncertain. They've sent machines to every major body in their star system. Some have left the system entirely. Their space station orbits at 28,000 kilometers per hour. They've been to space more than 500 times. Ralesh finally looked up from his reports. That can't be right. Check your instruments. But the instruments were working perfectly. Far below, humanity continued its daily existence, unaware that the galaxy's assumption of their weakness was about to be shattered. They worked, they built, they pushed boundaries that other species never thought to test. Because humans had something the galaxy had forgotten, they had to fight for everything they achieved. The observation team watched in growing confusion as their monitoring systems revealed layer after layer of Earth's hidden complexities. What should have been a simple 3-day observation stretched into 2 weeks. This makes no sense, Ralesh muttered, replaying footage from Earth's history archives. They split the atom less than 80 cycles ago. Most species take 300. Kixtau pulled up medical data. Senior observer, look at their biological scans. Their bodies produce adrenaline, a chemical that temporarily overrides pain and increases strength during stress. And this compound, cortisol, literally prevents them from dying during trauma. They have built-in combat stimulants. Evolutionary adaptation to a death world, Yulmore observed. Their planet is classified as Category 9 hostile. Predators, diseases, natural disasters, temperature extremes. How did intelligence even evolve there? The more they studied, the stranger it became. Humans healed from injuries that would kill most species. They could survive on an astonishing variety of foods. They adapted to climates ranging from frozen wastelands to scorching deserts. They were pursuit predators, capable of running prey to exhaustion over impossible distances. They're endurance hunters, Kickstal said with dawning horror. Like the Chronar Deathstalkers of Epsilon Prime. Except they evolved intelligence. Ralesh made a decision. We need to make direct contact. The Council needs a full report, not just scans. The landing site was chosen, a remote military installation in the North American sector. If things went wrong, they could escape quickly. The eternal judgment descended through clouds, its shields shimmering. Within minutes, human aircraft surrounded them, weapons armed but not firing. Disciplined. Curious but cautious. A delegation approached, General Marcus Webb, an older human with gray hair and calculating eyes, Ambassador Maria Rodriguez, whose diplomatic training was evident in every gesture, and Dr. James Mackenzie, a physicist who looked at their ship like a child seeing presents. Welcome to Earth, Rodriguez said in carefully practiced galactic common. They had learned it from the standard first contact package. In 2 weeks. Most species needed months. The meeting took place in a hangar, both sides sizing each other up. Ralesh explained the Galactic Council, the vast civilization awaiting them among the stars, the protocols and procedures. Webb listened intently. And what does the Council offer humanity in exchange for joining? Protection, Ralesh said automatically. Trade. Knowledge. Membership in a community of 300 civilized species. Protection from what? Webb's eyes narrowed. From hostile species. From cosmic threats. From yourselves. The last part slipped out automatically, the standard script for primitive worlds. The temperature in the room dropped. Rodriguez's smile remained fixed, but something dangerous flickered in her eyes. General Webb, perhaps we should show our guests some human hospitality. Excellent idea, Ambassador. Webb gestured, and soldiers brought in equipment. We prepared a small demonstration. A cultural exchange, if you will. What followed made Ralesh's blood run cold. They showed footage of human endurance, marathon runners covering impossible distances, mountain climbers scaling vertical rock faces, swimmers crossing oceans. Then came the wars, the battles, the sheer devastating creativity humans applied to conflict. This is from our last global war, Mackenzie said casually. Ended 80 years ago. We've become much more efficient since then. The presentation included nuclear weapons, biological defense systems, cyber warfare capabilities, and something called submarine warfare that made Yulmor's tentacles curl in instinctive fear. Fighting underwater, in crushing pressure and darkness, for months at a time. We appreciate the Council's offer, Rodriguez said smoothly. We'll need time to consider it. I'm sure you understand. They understood perfectly. Humanity had just politely warned them, we're not prey. Ralesh stood before the Galactic Council, his report uploaded to every delegate's datapad. The chamber that had once mocked humanity now sat in stunned silence. Let me understand this correctly, High Counselor Threnzak said slowly. You're claiming humans are a threat? I'm claiming we fundamentally misunderstood them, Counselor. Ralesh activated the holographic display. Observe, human cardiovascular efficiency. They can run for hours without stopping. Most sentient species tire after minutes. HFY clicked dismissively. Endurance is hardly. They hunt by chasing prey until it collapses from exhaustion, Ralesh interrupted. On a planet where everything is trying to kill them. They became apex predators through sheer persistence. Commander Velkera studied the data with professional interest. Their military structure is sophisticated. Multiple independent branches, each specialized. And these special forces groups. She paused. They train soldiers to operate alone behind enemy lines for months. In hostile environments. Without resupply. Show them the nuclear data, Kixtal urged. The hologram shifted, displaying mushroom clouds and radiation readings. They have 10,000 active nuclear warheads. Enough to render their planet uninhabitable 50 times over. They pointed these weapons at themselves for decades in something they call the Cold War. They built planet-destroying weapons and then chose not to use them. A delegate asked incredulously. That requires incredible restraint. Or incredible madness, another countered. Ralesh continued. Their space program achieved orbit using chemical rockets. Primitive, yes, but they did it 70 cycles ago with computer systems less powerful than a standard datapad. They sent 12 individuals to their moon using controlled explosions for thrust. They rode explosions into space. The Krellian delegate pulsed with alarm. Repeatedly. And their current plans include colonizing their neighboring planet within 20 cycles. Mars, a frozen desert with toxic atmosphere. They want to live there. Yulmore added his observations. I analyzed their cultural data. They have a concept called extreme sports. Humans voluntarily jump from aircraft, dive into oceans with predators, climb mountains that kill them, all for recreation. They call it fun. The council chamber erupted in debate. Some species saw opportunity, others saw danger. The Draxian military delegates were already calculating potential human auxiliary forces. There's one more thing, Ralesh said quietly. The chamber silenced. They have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. Every challenge makes them stronger. Every setback teaches them. They don't just adapt to their environment, they change it. He pulled up images of terraformed deserts, dammed rivers, underground cities. On a death world, they built civilization by refusing to accept their limitations. What happens when we introduce them to galactic technology? High Counselor Threnzak leaned back, his ancient eyes calculating. You believe they'll advance rapidly. I believe they'll surpass us, Ralesh said bluntly. Given time and resources, humans don't just solve problems, they eliminate them. Their planet tried to kill them for millions of cycles. They're still here. Everything else is extinct. The vote was called, accept humanity into the Galactic Council or observe from a distance. The debate raged for hours. Finally, Threnzak rendered judgment. We extend full council membership to humanity. But we watch them carefully. History shows that underestimating emerging species is unwise. As the council adjourned, Valkara approached Ralesh. You fear them. I respect them, he corrected. There's a difference. I've observed 200 primitive species. The others? They were content with what they had. Humans. They look at the stars and ask, why not? That's either inspiring or terrifying. Which is it? Valkara asked. Ralesh watched Earth rotate on the hologram, blue and green and beautiful. Ask me in 50 cycles, Commander. When there are equals. Or our superiors. 6 months after Earth's admission to the Galactic Council, humanity established its first embassy on the neutral station of Concord Prime. The galaxy watched with mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Lieutenant Colonel Rachel Torres commanded Earth's security detail, 20 soldiers from various nations, unified under UN authority. They maintained discipline despite being surrounded by species from childhood nightmares and fairy tales. The trouble started in Concord Prime's common area, where species mingled between diplomatic sessions. A group of Draxian warriors, their crystalline armor gleaming, surrounded the human delegation's table. So these are the Death Worlders, growled Captain Threxenal, his voice like grinding stones. They look soft. Torres continued eating her meal, a carefully prepared reminder of Earth. Her soldiers remained seated but alert. Threx moved closer. The Draxian Empire has conquered 40 worlds. We have never been defeated in ground combat. He slammed a clawed hand on the table. Yet the Council admits these, fragile things, as equals. Torres set down her fork with deliberate care. Captain, is there something we can help you with? I challenge your warriors to prove their worth. Combat trials, as is my right under Council law. Threx smile revealed rows of serrated teeth. Unless humans are too weak. The common area fell silent. Dozens of species watched, waiting. This was the question everyone wanted answered: could humans actually fight? Torres stood slowly. At 5'6", she was dwarfed by the 7-foot Draxian. We accept. Standard Council rules. Non-lethal, first to yield or incapacitation. Agreed. Tomorrow, Arena 7. Choose your warrior. After the Draxians left, Sergeant David Okonkwo grinned. I volunteer, Colonel. Denied. I'm taking this one personally. Torres smiled grimly. Time to represent humanity. News of the challenge spread across the station within hours. By the next morning, Arena 7 was packed with delegates from every species. Betting pools formed, odds heavily favoring the Draxian. Ambassador Rodriguez objected strenuously, but Torres was adamant. Ma'am, we need to establish credibility. If we back down from every challenge, we'll never be taken seriously. The arena was a simple circular platform, 30 meters across, surrounded by energy barriers. Threx entered first, his armor removed to reveal dense crystalline musculature. His skin could deflect blade strikes. His bones were literally rock. Torres entered wearing standard combat fatigues, no armor. The size difference was comical. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Was this a joke? The referee, a neutral Zenthari, explained the rules. Combat continues until yield or incapacitation. Lethal force is prohibited. Begin. Threx charged immediately, a standard Draxian tactic. Overwhelming force, brutal efficiency. Torres didn't try to meet the charge. She sidestepped at the last second, and as the Draxian thundered past, she kicked hard at his knee joint. Threx stumbled but didn't fall. He spun, surprised. You're fast. We have to be. Torres circled, staying mobile. Our planet doesn't give us armor or strength. We got speed and brains instead. The Draxian attacked again, more carefully this time. Torres avoided or deflected each strike, never trying to overpower him, always redirecting his momentum. She was studying him, learning his patterns. The crowd grew interested. This wasn't the quick victory they expected. Threx was breathing harder now, his massive body consuming oxygen rapidly. Torres looked barely winded, endurance, the human advantage. Stand still and fight, he roared, frustrated. That's not how we fight, Torres replied, and moved. She exploded forward, inside his guard, striking at nerve clusters she'd identified. Precision over power. The Draxian's arm went numb. She swept his leg, the same one she'd kicked earlier, now weakened. As he fell, she secured a joint lock that leveraged her entire body weight against his elbow. Crystalline or not, joints bent the same way across most species. The laws of physics didn't care about Draxian pride. Yield, Torres said calmly, applying just enough pressure to make her point. Threx struggled, then stopped. He'd felt joints break before. I yield. The arena erupted. Torres released him immediately and offered a hand up. After a moment's hesitation, Threx took it. How? He asked simply. Your species evolved strength. Mine evolved adaptation. We've been killing things bigger and stronger than us for millions of years, Captain. It's what we do. Threxnal studied her with new respect. The stories about death worlds, they're true. Every story. Torres smiled. Welcome to human combat doctrine, survive first, win second, look good doing it optional. 3 months after Torres's victory, humanity was still the galaxy's favorite novelty. But admiration turned to alarm when the distress signal came from mining station the Lax 9. This is the Lax 9, we're under attack. Unknown hostiles breaching Sector 7. We need immediate, the transmission dissolved into static and screams. The Galactic Council convened in emergency session. The Lax 9 housed 2,000 workers from a dozen species, including 50 humans serving as engineering consultants. The Scrath, High Counselor Threnzak announced grimly. Our worst fears confirmed. The name sent shudders through every delegate. The Scrath were nightmare incarnate, a hive-minded species that consumed other sentients for genetic material. They'd been dormant for centuries, but apparently hunger had driven them to raid civilized space again. How long until the fleet arrives? Demanded Commander Velcara. 36 hours minimum. The station won't last 6. Ambassador Rodriguez stood abruptly. We have personnel on that station. As do we all, Threnzak said heavily. But the Scrath have already breached critical systems. Standard protocol is to evacuate who we can and destroy the station before they spread. Unacceptable. Rodriguez's voice was steel. 50 of my people are there. Ambassador, I grieve with you, but... You don't understand, Rodriguez interrupted. Those 50 humans include a Marine Force reconnaissance unit. They were training station security. She smiled without humor. Captain Mitchell's team specializes in hostile environment combat. On the Lax 9, Captain Jake Mitchell assessed the tactical nightmare with professional calm. The Scrath had cut power to 3 sectors. Life support was failing. Conventional weapons barely slowed them. Sitrep, he ordered. Corporal Lisa Nakamura checked her datapad. 200 civilians trapped in the central hub, including kids. Scrath are between us and them. Station security is down to 20% effectiveness. Scrath biology? Mitchell asked Dr. Joseph Adler, their xenospecialist. Tough exoskeletons, acid blood, redundant organs. They're designed for survival. Adler pulled up a hologram. Weakness, they navigate by electromagnetic sense. Disrupt that, you blind them. Staff Sergeant Marcus Williams grinned. So we need to make noise. Electronic noise, Mitchell corrected. Nakamura, can you rig an EM pulse? With what we've got? Maybe. But it'll fry every system in range, including ours. Do it. Williams, gather every able-bodied fighter. We're going to get those civilians. Mitchell activated his comm to all human personnel. Listen up. This is what we trained for. Adapt, improvise, overcome. Today we show the galaxy what Marines do. The plan was insane, use the EM pulse to blind the Scrath, then fight through in darkness using nothing but coordination and violence. No tech advantage, no superior firepower. Just humans doing what humans do best. Thriving in chaos. They moved through pitch-black corridors, night vision useless, relying on hand signals and whispered commands. The Scrath, disoriented without their electromagnetic sense, became confused prey. Mitchell's knife found weak points in exoskeletons. Williams used improvised explosives from mining charges. Nakamura hacked life support to vent atmosphere in key sections, freezing the Scrath who couldn't adapt quickly enough. The aliens watching from ships above monitored the tactical feeds in stunned silence. Humans were fighting a superior enemy in the dark, without technology, and winning through sheer audacity. They're actually advancing, Velcara breathed. Into a Scrath-infested station. 6 hours later, Mitchell's team reached the central hub. The civilians, humans and aliens alike, stared at the blood-covered Marines like they were ghosts. U.S. Marines, ladies, gentlemen, and honored guests, Mitchell announced. We're here to escort you home. The evacuation took another 3 hours of running battles through damaged corridors. By the time the Galactic Fleet arrived, the civilians were safe and the Scrath infestation was contained to isolated sectors. Mitchell met Velcara at the airlock, his armor scorched and dented. Station's yours, Commander. Most of the bugs are in Sector 7. We marked them for you. Velcara studied the human warrior. You went into a Scrath nest. In the dark. Outnumbered 50-1. Not like we had a choice, ma'am. Mitchell shrugged. That's kind of our thing, doing impossible things because they need doing. Impossible. Velcara repeated slowly. Yes, I suppose it was. Thank you, Captain. As Mitchell rejoined his team, he heard one of the rescued alien civilians whisper to another, "They're not soft. They're terrifying." Mitchell allowed himself a tired smile. Maybe now the galaxy was beginning to understand. The Void incident transformed humanity's reputation overnight. No longer novelties or underdogs, humans became the species you called when conventional solutions failed. But respect brought attention, and attention brought scrutiny. Dr. Elena Volkov barely noticed the political upheaval. She was too busy making history in the laboratory on Luna Research Station 7. Elena, the council observers are here, her assistant announced nervously. She didn't look up from her quantum processor array. Tell them I'm busy rewriting physics. Ambassador Rodriguez appeared at the lab entrance with 3 alien scientists in tow, a Vexian, a Zentari, and a skeptical-looking Krellian named Luoth who'd won 2 galactic science prizes. Dr. Volkov, please, Rodriguez said patiently. Just explain what you're working on. Elena sighed and turned. At 31, she was young for a project lead, her dark hair perpetually disheveled from running frustrated hands through it. Fine. You know how your civilization uses quantum processors for computing? Obviously, Luoth pulsed with bioluminescent condescension. We've had quantum computing for 8,000 cycles. Right. You use quantum entanglement for faster calculations. Very clever. Elena's smile was sharp. We're using it for instant communication across any distance. The lab went silent. That's impossible, Luoth stuttered. Quantum entanglement doesn't work that way. You can't transmit information faster than light, it's fundamental physics. According to you. Elena activated her prototype. 2 quantum processors, one in the lab, one on a satellite beyond Mars, lit up simultaneously. She typed a message on one terminal. It appeared instantly on the other. But you never tried pairing entangled particles with what we call quantum error correction codes in a self-sustaining field matrix. The Vexian scientist's eyes widened. You stabilize the quantum state. But decoherence should collapse the system, yes. Except we realize decoherence is just noise, and noise can be filtered if you know what you're listening for. Elena pulled up equations. Humans have excellent pattern recognition. Evolutionary advantage from being prey and predator both. We see connections others miss. Luoth studied the mathematics with growing disbelief. This shouldn't work. It violates, no, it doesn't violate anything. You found a loophole in causality itself. We prefer to think of it as creative interpretation of physical law. Elena grinned. Give us another 6 months and we'll have galaxy-wide instantaneous communication. No more waiting years for messages between stars. Rodriguez understood the implications immediately. Wars could be coordinated in real time. Markets would unify. Empires spanning light years could function as single entities. Whoever controlled this technology would reshape galactic civilization. Dar. Volkov, she said carefully, the Council will want this technology. They can have it. For a price. Elena's expression hardened. Full access to their scientific databases. Unrestricted exchange of researchers. And a permanent human seat on the Galactic Scientific Assembly. They'll call it blackmail, the Zenthari scientist observed. I call it negotiation, Elena countered. We're offering something revolutionary. We deserve fair compensation. The news hit the Galactic Council like a bomb. Within days, delegations lined up outside Earth's embassy. Some offered partnerships, others trade agreements. The Draxian Empire offered military alliance. The Krellian Collective offered wealth beyond measure. High Counselor Threnzak summoned Rodriguez personally. How did they do this? We've studied quantum mechanics for millennia. You studied within your limitations, Counselor, Rodriguez replied. Humans grew up on a planet that constantly tested our limits. We learned that rules are just starting points for innovation. Threnzak's ancient eyes studied her. You're changing the galaxy's power structure within a cycle of joining us. Do you understand how destabilizing this is? I understand that humanity won't be content sitting at the children's table, Rodriguez said firmly. You invited us into this civilization. Now you need to make room for us at the top. The negotiations took weeks. The Galactic Scientific Assembly resisted at first. 300 species had never allowed a newcomer immediate high-level access. But Elena's demonstration was undeniable. In the end, humanity got everything it asked for: full scientific partnership, database access, and representation at the highest levels. In exchange, quantum communication technology would be shared with all Council species. Elena stood before the assembly, presenting her findings to the greatest scientific minds in the galaxy. My species has a saying, she concluded. Give a person a fish, they eat for a day. Teach them to fish, they eat for life. We're not interested in being given technology. We want to create it together. Luoth, who'd spent weeks reviewing Elena's work, pulsed with respectful green light. I spent 40 cycles convinced I understood quantum mechanics. This human female proved me wrong in 40 minutes. I am humbled and excited. Imagine what we'll discover together. As Elena left the assembly chamber, an older human physicist named Dr. James Chin approached. They'll expect more breakthroughs now. More miracles. Elena smiled. Then we'll deliver. That's what humans do, turn impossible into inevitable. You're not worried about the pressure. Dr. Chen, my species walked on our moon with less computing power than a modern toaster. We sent robots to other planets using slide rules and determination. Pressure. She laughed. Pressure is our optimal working condition. 2 years after joining the Galactic Council, humanity faced its greatest test. The crisis arrived without warning. The Nexus Barrier, an ancient energy field protecting civilized space from the hostile regions beyond, was failing. High Counselor Threnzak addressed an emergency council session. The barrier has protected us for 10,000 cycles. If it collapses, the void marauders will flood into civilized space. Millions will die. The galaxy's greatest engineers had studied the barrier for millennia without understanding it. Built by the vanished progenitor race, it operated on principles no living species fully grasped. Commander Velcara pulled up tactical projections. If the barrier falls, we'll need to evacuate 1,500 worlds. The fleet can't protect them all. How long do we have? Ambassador Rodriguez asked. 6 months. Maybe less. Threnzak's voice carried the weight of impending catastrophe. We've tried everything. The barrier's structure is degrading at the quantum level. We cannot stop it. Rodriguez looked at her human delegation, Dr. Elena Volkov, quantum physicist, Captain Jake Mitchell, representing military perspectives, Dr. James Mackenzie, archaeologist specializing in progenitor technology, and a dozen other specialists. Can we fix it? She asked simply. Everyone says it's impossible, Elena replied. Which usually means humans just haven't tried yet. The human team was granted full access to barrier research facilities. What they found shocked them: thousands of cycles of observations, but very little experimentation. "They've been studying it like a museum piece," Mackenzie complained. "No one's actually tried to repair it because the progenitors were considered infallible." Mitchell examined defense protocols. "They've never had to solve problems like this. Their civilization was built on inherited stability. Ours was forged in constant crisis." Elena assembled a radical proposal: instead of preserving the barrier's failing structure, rebuild it using hybrid progenitor-human quantum technology. It was untested, dangerous, and completely insane. "You want to replace a 10,000-cycle-old megastructure with experimental human technology?" Frenzak asked incredulously. "In 6 months. "No, counselor," Elena corrected. "I want to integrate our technology into the existing structure. The progenitors built the foundation. We'll just debug their code." "Debug?" Frenzak repeated the unfamiliar term. "Fix the errors," Mitchell translated. "Humans have been taking ancient things and making them work again for our entire history. Ruins, languages, technologies, we specialize in resurrection." The council, desperate and out of options, approved the project. The galaxy watched with a mixture of hope and resignation as humanity attempted the impossible. The work was brutal. Human engineers worked alongside alien specialists, combining knowledge bases that had never merged before. They discovered the barrier wasn't failing, it was adapting, trying to evolve against a changing universe, but lacked the processing power to complete the transformation. "It's alive," Elena breathed, staring at quantum readings. "Not conscious, but responsive." The progenitors didn't build a wall, they built an immune system for civilized space. With 7 days remaining, the human team implemented their solution: quantum processors networked across the barrier's entire length, giving it the computing power to complete its evolution. They weren't fixing the old barrier, they were helping it become something new. The activation was scheduled for a public broadcast. Every species watched as Elena stood at the control station, her hands shaking slightly. "This is either the greatest achievement in modern galactic history," she said softly, "or the most spectacular failure. Very human odds, actually." She activated the sequence. The barrier flickered, dimmed, and for one heart-stopping moment, disappeared entirely. Alarms blared across 1,000 worlds. Then, slowly, light returned, but different. Stronger. More vibrant. The energy reading stabilized at levels higher than before. The barrier wasn't just repaired. It was upgraded. Cheers erupted across the galaxy. Elena collapsed into a chair, exhausted and relieved. Rodriguez found her in the control room hours later, staring at the successful readings. "You did it," Rodriguez said simply. "We did it," Elena corrected. "Humans and aliens together. That's the real breakthrough. We bring our crazy ideas, they bring their stability and experience. Combined, we're better than either alone." Frenzak addressed the council the next day with a formal proposal: established the Galactic Innovation Initiative, a joint program specifically recruiting human problem solvers to work with alien experts on previously unsolvable challenges. 2 cycles ago, we laughed at humans," he admitted. "We saw weakness where we should have seen potential. They came from a world that tried to kill them daily, and that made them strong in ways we never imagined. They don't accept impossible. They don't respect limitations. And perhaps that's exactly what our civilization needed." Commander Velcara stood to second the motion. "The Draxian Empire spent 10,000 cycles conquering through strength. Humans taught us that adaptability is stronger than armor, persistence more powerful than weapons. They don't just think outside the box, they question whether the box needs to exist at all." The vote was unanimous. On Earth, the news was celebrated with typical human flair: parties, parades, and a general sense of course we saved the galaxy. To them, it was just another problem solved, another impossible task completed. Captain Mitchell watched the celebrations from his apartment in New York, the skyline glittering with both human and alien vessels. His comm chirped, orders for his next assignment, training a joint human-alien special forces unit. Dr. Elena Volkov received 50 collaboration offers from alien research institutes. She accepted them all, already designing a new quantum computing network that would link every scientific facility in the galaxy. Ambassador Rodriguez stood before the UN General Assembly, delivering her report. "We've proven ourselves to the galaxy," she concluded. "Not through conquest or domination, but by being undeniably, stubbornly, brilliantly human. We took our weaknesses, our short lives, our fragile bodies, our violent history, and turned them into strengths. We learned from a hostile universe that survival requires constant innovation." She paused, smiling. The aliens laughed at Earth, until they saw what humans could do. Now they're not laughing. They're asking for our help. They're seeking our perspective. They're inviting us to help build the future. Because humans don't just survive impossible odds, she finished. We thrive on them. And the galaxy is just beginning to understand what that means. In space stations and colonies across the stars, humans worked alongside hundreds of alien species, each learning from the other. The galaxy that had mocked Earth now looked to humanity not as primitives or curiosities, but as partners, innovators, and friends. The age of human isolation had ended. The age of human contribution had just begun. And the galaxy, for better or worse, would never be the same. The end.